Welcome to Super Showdowns, the ultimate destination for epic battles and legendary showdowns. Join us as we put iconic superheroes, villains, and mythological figures against each other in thrilling matches of strength, strategy, and skill. The air was thick with the scent of war. Dark storm clouds twisted above the battlefield, illuminated only by the occasional flash of lightning that carved through the heavens. Kratos, the Ghost of Sparta, stood upon the charred remains of what had once been a grand temple, his grip firm on the blades of chaos. The Leviathan Axe rested on his back, and the Spartan rage simmered beneath his scarred flesh. He had faced gods, monsters, and cosmic entities, but now he was drawn into a battle unlike any before. Before him, the earth trembled violently. A monstrous figure tore through the landscape, each step leaving a crater in the ground. The Juggernaut had arrived. His massive frame was adorned in crimson armor that shimmered with unnatural resilience. His helmet, unyielding and ancient, concealed his face, leaving only the cold, determined glare of his eyes visible. Empowered by the mystical energies of Cyttorak, he was more than a mere man. He was an unstoppable force of destruction. Kratos had been drawn to this realm through forces he could not yet comprehend. The remnants of shattered dimensions still clung to his being, echoes of his past wars against gods and titans. This place was foreign, yet eerily familiar, a realm of chaos, destruction, and raw power. It was not Olympus, nor Midgard, but something in between, a battlefield chosen by fate itself. And now, standing before him, was a warrior unlike any he had fought before. Move or be crushed. Juggernaut's voice rumbled like a landslide, his colossal fist clenching as he took a step forward. The ground cracked beneath him, sending violent tremors across the battlefield. Kratos did not flinch. His crimson tattoo burned under the dim light, and his ghostly pale skin was marked by countless battles. "I have slain gods," he said, his voice cold and unwavering. "What are you to me?" Juggernaut laughed, a thunderous, bone-rattling sound. "Gods? I don't care about gods. I'm unstoppable." Without warning, Juggernaut lunged forward, the force of his charge splitting the earth. Kratos barely had time to react before the massive warrior was upon him, an avalanche of muscle and rage. Kratos leapt, twisting midair as Juggernaut's charge obliterated the temple ruins behind him. The Spartan landed with feline precision, summoning the blades of chaos into his hands. He swung. The chain blades ignited with divine fire, slicing through the air toward Juggernaut's exposed back. The strike connected, sending a shockwave to the battlefield. But the demigod felt it immediately. His blades, which had severed gods and titans alike, barely scratched the crimson armor. Juggernaut turned unfazed, his grin widening.
Hey you, don't just watch. Subscribe, please.
Turn. The punch came too fast. Kratos barely crossed his arms before Juggernaut's fist struck like a meteor, sending him hurtling through the air. He crashed through stone pillars, the impact shattering them like brittle twigs. Dust and debris filled the air, but Kratos did not stay down. He had faced far worse. With a growl, he summoned the Leviathan Axe and hurled it. The weapon spun through the air, wreathed in frost, and struck Juggernaut's chest with a mighty crack. Juggernaut stumbled. It wasn't pain. He did not feel pain as normal beings did. But something in that strike made him slow for a brief moment. Kratos seized the opportunity, dashing forward with inhuman speed. His body wreathed in the flames of Spartan rage. He leapt, delivering a thunderous kick to Juggernaut's jaw, forcing the larger warrior back. The battlefield trembled as the two titans clashed. Juggernaut swung, his fists shattering the very air with their speed and force. Kratos weaved between the strikes, his Spartan instincts guiding him. He struck again and again, blades, axe, fists, each blow powered by the wrath of a god. Yet, for every hit he landed, Juggernaut pressed forward unstoppable, undeterred. "You don't get it, do you?" Juggernaut sneered, grabbing Kratos mid-dash. His massive hands clench around the demigod's torso like a vice. Nothing stops me. With a roar, Juggernaut hurled Kratos into the sky. The Ghost of Sparta soared like a broken spear, colliding into the mountains beyond. The impact sent an explosion of rock cascading down like an avalanche. Juggernaut stood, dusting himself off. Stay down. But from the rubble, a sound emerged, a low, guttural growl. The dust parted, revealing Kratos, blood trickling down his forehead, his breath ragged but his eyes burning with defiance. The Spartan rage had only begun to awaken. "You are strong," Kratos admitted, tightening his grip on the Leviathan Axe. But strength alone does not decide a battle. Juggernaut cracked his knuckles. "Then let's finish this." The two warriors locked eyes. The battle was far from over. It was only just beginning. The battlefield was a graveyard of destruction. Mountains lay in ruin. The earth itself had split, and the sky crackled with divine fury. Standing amidst the chaos was a Juggernaut, a colossus of raw power, his crimson armor gleaming under the dim, stormy light. His breath was steady, his posture unwavering. He was the embodiment of Cyttorak's will, an unstoppable force that had torn through worlds. But before him stood a warrior who refused to break. Kratos wiped the blood from his brow, his fingers curling tightly around the Leviathan Axe. The
Hey you, don't just watch. Subscribe please.
fire of Spartan rage still simmered in his veins, but he knew brute force alone would not be enough. He had faced beings who called themselves invincible before, gods, titans, primordial entities, but all had fallen. He would find a way. He always found a way. Juggernaut rolled his shoulders, his lips curling into a smirk. "You don't get it, do you? You can't win." Kratos exhaled slowly, his mind sharpening. Everything falls. Then he attacked, with blinding speed. Kratos closed the distance, his axe carving through the air with a force that could split the heavens. Juggernaut swung, a wrecking ball of muscle and power, but Kratos ducked, sliding beneath the giant strike. With a roar, he drove the Leviathan Axe into Juggernaut's exposed ribs. The mystical blade bit deep, its frost spreading across the crimson armor. Juggernaut grunted, but instead of staggering, he grabbed Kratos by the throat. "You're persistent," Juggernaut growled. "But persistence won't save you." He squeezed. Kratos felt his windpipe close as Juggernaut lifted him off the ground. His vision blurred, his body struggling against the sheer strength of the behemoth. But as his fingers grazed the handle of his axe, his mind sharpened. Kratos let go of the Leviathan Axe. The momentary confusion in Juggernaut's eyes was all he needed. With his free hand, Kratos summoned the blades of chaos, their chains igniting with godly fire. With a brutal spin, he slashed both blades across Juggernaut's helmet, sending a shockwave of divine fire into his skull. Juggernaut roared and loosened his grip. That was enough. Kratos kicked off his chest, flipping backward, and summoned the Leviathan Axe back into his hands. Juggernaut, momentarily dazed, shook his head. "That won't." Kratos was already moving. The Spartan hurled the Leviathan Axe into the ground beneath Juggernaut's feet. The moment it struck, the frost magic erupted in a massive shockwave, freezing the terrain solid. Juggernaut's movement slowed, not by much, but just enough for Kratos to exploit. With inhuman speed, Kratos summoned the Blade of Olympus. The weapon, once used to kill gods, hummed with divine energy. Lightning crackled around the blade as he charged. Juggernaut stomped forward, breaking free of the ice, but Kratos leapt over him, flipping in midair, and drove the Blade of Olympus into the base of his skull. The battlefield trembled. For the first time, Juggernaut staggered, his vision blurred, the divine energy of the Blade of Olympus burning through his mystical invulnerability. His knees buckled, his body trembling. "You can't," Juggernaut growled, trying to rise. His body pulsed with Cyttorak's energy, struggling to repair the damage. Kratos landed, gripping the Blade of Olympus tighter. "I can." Then in one final act of war, He wrenched the blade free and, with all the strength of a god, drove it through Juggernaut's chest. A deafening shockwave erupted from the impact, sending a blinding surge of divine energy across the battlefield. Juggernaut's roar turned into a guttural gasp as the unstoppable force finally fell to his knees. His massive form trembled, his once unshakable body now fading. The glow in his eyes flickered, his power siphoning away. The mystical link to Cyttorak wavered. Kratos had struck at the very core of his essence. Kratos stepped back, breathing heavily, watching as Juggernaut slumped forward, the ground quaking beneath his weight. The once invincible warrior was still. Silence followed. Kratos exhaled. He had won. Sheathing his weapons, he turned, his mind already drifting to the next battle. The gods, the titans, the monsters. There would always be more. War never ended. Behind him, Juggernaut's massive form remained motionless, the once unstoppable force finally brought to a halt. The Ghost of Sparta had done the impossible once again.